Your neck muscles are your nervous system's threat detector, part 2. You guys, I'm so excited to share this information. It's so cool. Okay, so we were talking last time about the suboccipital muscles, and we're going to continue with that. In this situation, we're talking in the context of the myodural bridge. I'll explain. So just as a reminder, the suboccipital muscles are the muscles at the base of the head, at the top of the neck. They're quite small and quite important. If you don't understand why they're important, please go check out part 1. So the suboccipital muscles have a direct fascia connection. Again, the importance of fascia, the importance of connective tissue. They have a direct connection via the fascia to the dura mater, which is the matter that surrounds the brain and the entire spinal cord. So this is basically the stuff that encases our entire central nervous system. Quite important. And this connection was confirmed back in 1995, so it's like very well documented. So basically what happens is that chronic tension in the suboccipital muscles creates chronic tension in the fascia, which then creates tension in the dura, which is, again, the matter around the central nervous system. And that impacts the fluid dynamics of the spinal cord and the brain, which is very important because cerebral spinal fluid is basically the stuff in which that our brain and our nervous system uses to send signals, right? Like our brain doesn't have blood, it has cerebral spinal fluid. So it's very important, and the fluid dynamics are very important. So the first thing is that the dura is pain sensitive. There's a lot of pain receptors in this matter. So this could be a legitimate proposed mechanism for chronic tension headaches. Having tension in the dura means that the pain receptors are more likely to be activated in the dura and shoot that pain all the way back up through the central nervous system and through the head. The cerebral spinal fluid circulation is also super important because having tension in the suboccipitals, tension in the fascia, and then tension in the dura, all of this tension can impact the way that cerebral spinal fluid flows through the central nervous system. And that then affects the brain's waste clearance system. So the brain has a system that clears metabolic waste, and metabolic waste is basically what is left over after we digest our food and make energy from it and do all of our required processes. All the stuff that our body doesn't need, it sends away and it clears out. That waste is highly inflammatory. And so if the cerebral spinal fluid is not moving the way that it's supposed to because of the tension in the dura, stay with me here. If the cerebral spinal fluid is not moving the way that it's supposed to because of the tension in the dura, then the waste that our central nervous system usually eliminates isn't being properly eliminated, which can mean that there's more inflammation in the dura and in the central nervous system. Inflammation in the central nervous system is big bad. Big, big bad. You don't want inflammation. For reference, meningitis is inflammation in the brain. And that's a bad disease. Like we all know, meningitis is bad, get your meningococcal vaccine, right? So having inflammatory factors that are just chilling in the dura and in the central nervous system is quite bad. And inflammation means that there is more nervous system activation because your nervous system sees that as a threat. Inflammation is basically an immune response. So then your nervous system gets more activated, and then you are even more in fight or flight. And what's so crazy is that there is a specific inflammatory factor in the dura that is known to be the main cause of migraines, like chronic migraines. People who have really, really bad chronic migraines, when they're on medication, their medication is a blocker for this specific inflammatory factor, which is called CGRP. I don't want to say the whole big name, but the abbreviation for the inflammatory factor is called CGRP. So the current medication, the main gold standard medication for chronic migraines, blocks this inflammatory factor called CGRP. So basically, we're going back to the beginning here, but basically, if you have chronic tension in the muscles underneath your head and at the top of your neck called the suboccipitals, it could create tension in the matter around your central nervous system called the dura. there's tension in the dura. It could impact the way that your cerebral spinal fluid moves throughout your central nervous system, which could impact your nervous system's ability to rid itself of waste and inflammatory factors, which could lead to inflammation in the nervous system, which causes a whole slew of issues, one of which could be chronic migraines. The suboccipital muscles can be released mechanically. And I gave 2 really great exercises in part 1. I don't know if this is like a widely known thing, but I have friends who have chronic migraines and like they definitely don't know this. Like their doctors definitely did not share this information with them. So I just like feel a little bit mind blown. I love somatics so much, and every time I start to dive into a new thing, basically the only reason why I even dive into new things in somatics is because I need help, and it's help. Like I'll look into things that are I struggle with and that I need help with, and then I'll just get like so deep into it, and I'll start like uncovering all of this stuff, which like is just further and further proof that our body is one very big interconnected system, and if something happens at point A, it's going to affect other things. It's not just going to stay at point A. So yeah, that's my soapbox for now, and there is more. There is so much more about the neck regulating the nervous system and the muscles of the neck. So in the next part, we're going to talk about the trigeminal nucleus, which is a sensory processing system which has to do with one of the main facial nerves, the trigeminal nerve. So I will be posting that soon. I hope that this was as interesting to you as it was to me. I hope that it was helpful to some of you, and maybe please share with people that you know that have like chronic migraines or inflammation in the central nervous system. I don't know if they've looked into this, but if they haven't, it might be something interesting for them to dive deeper into. Sending so much love. Bye.